also, people change. You should know when you no longer fit into the circle of friends, people, even that relationship. You should know when it's time to call it off. It's not compulsory you have to be there. I mean, and I am back. You know what that means. I must say, it's been a wonderful experience. Okay, so before I continue, I was literally, contemplating on what should I call this series. And then I came up with something. Booked and Becoming. So we are not just reading, but we are becoming through our lessons. Okay, so from now henceforth, we are going to be saying, welcome to Booked and Becoming. Okay, so let's take our intro again. In 3, 2, 1. Welcome to another episode of Booked and Becoming, where you pick the book, I read, and I come back with it content. Yeah, because I understand we are running through a whole lot of schedule, and we may just not have that time to sit, pick up a book and read, even though we know we really want to. We want to have a book goal. We want to, have a year or a month where we read like 3-4 books. And so that is why I am here. You pick the book, I read, summarize. And the fun part is, I don't just get to summarize the book. You also get to listen to the reader point of view. Okay, so let's get right into today's episode of Booked and Become. The book for the week was Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. And this is our very first series on that book, where I get to summarize the whole book for you. Who Moved My Cheese actually looks like a simple story, but it carries one of the most uncomfortable life lessons, and that is change. Change will always happen whether we are ready or not. So the whole story takes place inside a mess with 4 characters living in it. 2 mice and 2 little people. The mice are named Sniff and Scurry, while the 2 people are named Hem and Her. Now every day these 4 characters goes into the mess in a quest, searching for cheese. So here's the interesting part. This cheese represents success, money, career growth, good health, relationship, connection. Just name it. That big opportunity, that big project you're working on, that big project you're looking forward to, or that big project you're already into, that big thing. Success, achievements, purpose, goals, everything. Now the mess was actually divided into different stations. According to the book, there was station A, station C, station N, different stations. Okay, and so they had to go through these stations looking for cheese. Sometimes they would stumble upon a station with cheese. Now it could be a little amount of cheese, not enough to sustain them for a long period of time. So they would stay there, and when that particular cheese was finished, they would go into another spot. The book recorded that at some point they would hit a dead end. So it's like the end of the road in that particular maze. They had to retrace their steps and then go back. And another thing they did was every cheese station, they made markings on the wall so they would know that, oh, we've been here, and just so they can understand where they have entered. One day they stumbled upon a huge supply of cheese in one of the stations, cheese station C. And so they were excited. They were so happy. They celebrated, Every day they would return to the station C. What was the need of the rush? They had found a cheese station with a huge supply. And so they would go there reluctantly, just stroll in, have their feast and all. The book at some point even recorded that they hung their, running boots because they were all relaxed. At the end of the day, they had found what they were hustling for. Their whole hustle and bustle had paid off. But here's the interesting part. The two mice were very cautious. They checked the supply of the cheese. They observed every little changes happening. Meanwhile, Hem and Hor, that's the two little people, were comfortable. In fact, that reluctant attitude was actually from the both of them. they would stroll in. You know that now my papa business. I can just come anytime kind of attitude. Yeah, exactly. They would stroll in at any point in time because I mean, do I have to hustle when I know where to find my daily meal? That was their thought. And so they were the ones that hugged their boots. They were not ready for anything. They got so comfortable. Every morning they would stroll in, have their feast, have their enjoyment. They even moved their belongings close to the cheese station, see, so they can be closer. They did no stress. Created the space, made it comfortable. So imagine the shock when one morning they came into the cheese station, see, and realized that there was no cheese. The cheese were completely gone. Well, so while Sniff and Scurry, the two mice, looked at each other and said, okay, we already noticed this, we saw this coming. Oh yeah, now it's time to continue our quest. Picked up their running boots, put it on, and continued the journey without overthinking or blaming anyone. Hem and Hor was shocked, angry, confused, frustrated, every single thing you can describe all in one. They shouted, who moved my cheese? They shouted, who moved my cheese? And I think that's where the name came from. Who moved my cheese? They believed it was someone who wronged them. They believed somebody had literally come to pick the cheese away. No. That cheese was just here. Where did he go to? That was just them. They didn't want to hear that the cheese supply actually went down over the period of time. They believed that someone wronged them. Went to the back of the cheese station, looking for, is there a hole? Probably somebody had come to pick it up. Somebody had created a hole at the back of the station and taken our cheese away. They did not want to hear anything. Book also recorded that they were classified as little people because they had complex thinking, emotions they could feel. So I feel like probably that was where their shortcoming came from. They felt so unfairly treated. They said it was unfair. They refused to move on. They came every morning hoping that the cheese would just magically return back to the cheese station. They just felt that let's just go with so much faith and hope, just like someone that this was supposed to be a summary, but yeah, this is literally what some people do. I'm sure that as I'm saying this, somebody's coming to your mind. Know that one person that is praying morning, day and night, hoping for a miracle, but yet they are doing nothing. Faith without work. Exactly, this was what these guys were doing. Faith without work. They come to the station every single morning hoping that magically, boom, the cheese is back. Online, Hor was afraid too initially, but after a while he was like, why are we stuck here? It doesn't look like anything is going to happen anytime soon. It doesn't look like whoever wronged us is ready to return the cheese anytime soon. It feels like they have taken it away. It's gone. So slowly he began to reflect on himself, his decisions, everything. Then he realized that painful. The cheese did not just go away overnight. They were getting smaller over time, but they just ignored all the changes and the signs. The only thing was that he had chosen comfort over awareness. He just didn't want to, he didn't want to think on the fact that this thing is going to finish and we'll have to go back to that hustling life, that hustling lifestyle, that whole stress, that whole hitting, dead hands, trial and errors, running in circles and stuff. And so he had not paid attention to the changes that was happening around him. Eventually, Hor asked himself a powerful question. What would I do if I wasn't afraid? And I'm asking you, so what would you do if you were not afraid? Now that single question changed everything for him. He laughed at himself and he realized that fear of change is actually worse than change itself. We are so scared of, where am I going to? Where will I start from? So fear of change is actually worse than fear itself. So one day he told him, I'm living here, okay? Have you ever considered what if the mice, just what if the mice had found another cheese station? I mean, it's been days, months, years. What if they have found another cheese station? But him was bent on the fact that they were wronged. Someone had moved someone had moved the cheese. And so he was like, hold up. First off, who are you talking about? The two mice? I mean, we are the little humans. We are the one with the complex brain abilities and thinking and emotions. So those people know nothing. They know nothing. Leave them alone. I am telling you for a fact that we've been wronged. This station, this cheese has been moved. And I'm telling you that it's going to be returned. And you're here questioning, have the little mice found another station? How is that even possible? Do they have complex brain? Can they think? Do they have emotions? No, that is us. Us, look around. We are the most intelligent people in the house. And so if we are saying we've been wronged, we have been wronged. Where do you want to start from? Where? Just where? How do you want to start it? The dark ends, the dark corners. How do you want to do it? The block ends and the dead roads. Where? Who is helping you? Are you going to understand the mess again? Do we even know where to start from? So no, we are waiting here until whoever took the cheese decides that it's time. Let's get return it to them. That was yeah, that was Ham's decision. And so Horse said, no, I'm not doing this with you. He went back to the mess. The book recorded that it was difficult. He got lost, frustrated, angry, hungry, and sometimes he kept asking himself, did I make the wrong decision? Did I make the wrong choice? Should I have just, stayed back with him, back at Cheese Station C, hoping that whoever wronged us would, return the cheese back at their own pace. And then, after a second thought, it's like, no, I'm here. I've stumbled on a few stations. Remember that there were some stations that actually had supplies of cheese, but not enough to last for days, months, or years. And so it was like, in this journey so far, at least I've gotten what to eat. I've stumbled on on stations with few cheese that can last me. It was better than when I was just sitting there and hoping for some miracle to happen. That life, no way. I remember that they had this idea of writing lessons on the wall, So every cheese station he passed, he wrote on the wall the lessons he had learned. And so this way, like a summary of the lessons he wrote on the wall. Change happens, anticipate change, monitor change, adapt quickly, and be ready to change. So eventually, after a whole lot of hustle, bustle, and all, he stumbled, or he came to another cheese station Inn, and guess who was already there? Yes, you guessed right. The two mice, Sniff and Scurry. They had already found the cheese station long ago. Remember, the book already recorded that once they noticed the cheese were gone, they had, set on their quest again. And so, yes, they had also found cheese station Inn a long time ago, and they were already enjoying, even before her finally found them. And that was when her realized that, I made the right decision to have left him. Now you need to understand that our cheese will always be moved. But you have to watch out for the changes. It could be job change, body change, like your health. So people change. You should know when you no longer fit into the circle of friends, people, even that relationship. You should know when it's time to call it off. It's not compulsory you have to be there. Now, the real question is not who moved my cheese. The real question is, will you move with it? some changes are actually positive. You need to understand that people who adapt early suffer less. Now, move with the change. You stand the risk of getting extinct, because by the time everybody's evolving and you're just there backward, what will happen? You become out of market. So we are talking growth. You become extinct. You're no longer needed. You're no longer valuable, because you don't have that thing that everybody is now looking for. You're just so stuck at, is this not how we made it here? It's not how we got here. We did it without the social media. Well, you did it without social media, but now there's social media. So the ones who cling to comfort get stuck. And the fear we feel about change is usually bigger than the change itself. That's just the truth. That fear of, will I be safe? Can I make it through? Can I still understand it? That fear, it's bigger than the change itself. Now today, I want you to ask yourself, in these 4 characters, which of them truly mirrors you? Who are you in the story? Are you him, or the 2 mice? I told you it was a great book. Now watch out for reader's point of view, what I learned. I know you don't want to miss it, and it's gonna be in 2 series. Series 1 and 2. Please, you don't want to miss it. I promise you don't want to miss it. I'm going to leave you with this little take. You need to remember that new cheese only belongs to people that search for it. Don't expect to sit in the comfort of your house and then you just feel like all you need to do is just pray with no work to show for it. Dust your CV. If it's a job, if it's your health, take the right steps to it. Eat well, gym, exercise, do the needful. Don't overstress yourself. Sleep when you have to sleep. Give your body the needed attention and observe, and look out for those little changes. Is it relationship? Know when it's time to say, let's move on. Because I'm telling you, you will always find what you want. There's always a good person for you out there. Is it friendship? Know when it's time to move on from that cycle. Know when it's no longer comfortable. Know when the discussion is no longer welcoming for you to become, or for you to get to where you need to be. It is always a beautiful time in front of my camera because I'm doing this for you. And so this is me leaving you with my little 2 cents. See you on the next series. I love you and shalom.